Carolyn, you have a pretty amazing story, and there's not many people that I know that have been through what you've been through and are as positive, as uplifting, and held together, I would say, because when you go through that trauma, it kind of beats you down. And I know because I've been through some trauma myself, and it takes its toll on you, and it takes, sometimes you can say it takes like life force out of you. And so my goal is to hopefully add life force to people through movement and through health and fitness and stuff like that. And so I'd like to just have you share a little bit of your story. You're a retired colonel in the Marine Corps, correct?
Lieutenant Colonel, yes.
Lieutenant Colonel, right? And you were doing a training, and just tell the story, I guess. You
Okay.
fell off a helicopter, or,
Right.
yeah.
So I was fast roping, which is, if you saw the movie Black Hawk Down, there's the hell hole, which is a hole in the bottom of a helicopter, or out the back end where you grab a rope and you slide down the rope. And so on about my 10th jump, I was getting tired. And of course, everyone was like, come on, Fermin, you got to go. I was the only woman out there. So on my 10th jump, I fell about 18 feet. And that's with, flak jacket, pack, helmet, rifle, everything. I ended up having 4 spine surgeries. And it eventually led to my medical retirement from the Marine Corps with a 10-level spine fusion. So after retiring in 2013, I had such severe chronic pain and really fell into a bout of depression. So someone who used to run 30 to 45 miles a week, now I wasn't doing anything. I was just sitting around, wallowing in my pain and really self-pity. I was inspired to join EarthFit and was really ashamed because I had gained a lot of weight. And of course, weight gain exacerbates back pain. It was just the perfect storm. I joined EarthFit. I was ashamed to even dress out. And then I was introduced to your back program. And I was very skeptical because I had gone through, all kinds of different innovative, physical therapy, different types of treatment. Everything from, they wanted to do nerve blocks in my back, a lot of massage therapy, a lot of injections. And I'm like, well, I just don't know if this is going to work. It's just really stretching, but I was willing to try anything. And when you mentioned earlier that it was a life, that it is life-changing, it really is, because with that movement and really building up your core strengthens your back. I am pain-free. And whenever my back gets stiff, like I was doing deadlifts this morning, I started stretching my back using your exercises. Now I feel fine. So it's something that is not just for the duration of the treatment. Okay, so upon being medically retired from the Marine Corps, I was prescribed 27 pills to take every day. And I did that for several years. And, as you know, there's second and third order effects of taking so many, painkillers, antispasmodic medication, anti-inflammatory, that, I once I started your program and completed it successfully, I stopped taking every single one of those pills. So I am actually taking nothing right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
And have the doctors, do the doctors think that it's amazing, or have they said that you should be taking medication, but you just stopped?
Well, I didn't get their permission, and I just stopped taking them, cold turkey, because, if the core problem is pain, back pain, so you take this medication and it causes these 2 symptoms, and then they give you something to combat those, and then it creates these. So that's why you can end up with taking a handful of, drugs every single day, when really the core problem is pain. And once you fix that, you don't need any of it. So I stopped taking everything. And I haven't been happier, because medication is just chemically, not good for, your brain health and just your ability to focus.
Wow. So as somebody who went from running 40 to 50 miles a week to not doing anything, because that actually happened to me. I think a little bit of my story, but it can be devastating to the psyche, because For me, it was like I was this person, and then I was
Yes.
no longer that person. That person was gone, and I had to like mentally change who I was. Can you just tell like how you got through that period? Like, especially in the Marine Corps, it's like you have this mindset of like, all right, I'm invincible, I can do anything kind of, and like you can push through a lot, right? You're probably mentally,
Mhm.
physically strong, and then all of a sudden, like, boom. So what was that like for you when you had that event of falling out of the helicopter?
Well, any trauma, significant trauma, has a significant impact on your psyche. So, you know, believing in the notion that you're unstoppable, that there's nothing that you can't do, and a lot of that's true. I mean, your mind is a powerful, powerful thing, but with trauma like that, it can reduce your confidence to, oh my gosh, I can't do that. um, you start focusing on the pain, and
Mhm.
really, again, your mind is so powerful that if you don't, like the old cliche, you know um, mind over matter. I mean, it's so true. But when you get in that place where all you can do is focus on pain, you can't break that cycle. It's just very hard, and that impacts your psyche in terms of, instead of saying I'm invincible, it's like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to do this because I know my back's going to hurt, or I don't want to try that because it might injure my back more. And that self, defeating thinking turns into self-defeating behavior.
Absolutely. And so you were in a cycle where you'd gained weight. You
Yes.
were you were you were in a lot of pain.
Yes.
What was it that clicked that got you to get out of that? I know you said EarthFit, but actually there had to have been something before that that got you to walk in through the door and even start the program.
Well, part of it was, my self disgust with what I become. So instead of being this really tremendous athlete,
Mhm.
a runner, to someone who, just was apathetic. I mean, really, I just didn't want to get off of the couch. And if I went to the gym, someone might see me. And, I think a lot of it was my own pride. I didn't want to be seen, 50 pounds heavier.
Mhm.
And so wondering, how did I get to this place? I went from, being this really athletically built person, who could run 3 miles in 1904 at
Wow.
50 years of age, to
Wow.
someone who could, yeah, I mean, I loved running, to someone who, um, like, since I couldn't run anymore because of my spine, I had to resort to other types of, like, elliptical. And 20 minutes later, I would be bored and, frustrated, and I just would quit. So what got me to the point where I was getting ready to join a place like EarthFit was just my own, self-disgust at, how did I become here? I'm a stronger person than this. I'm a better person than this. I've got to turn this around. And then I would, start working out, and my back would hurt, and then I would, ramp back, and then I would start again. And so the key was, whenever I would go to a doctor, they'd want to prescribe me a new medication, or a
Mhm.
new physical therapy, or some type of protocol that, really went against my core beliefs of, wanting to be like I am today, 58 and drug free. I don't take any medication whatsoever. And so that, really was had me conflicted. Like, I want to work out, but I don't want to be on all these drugs, these medications. So, what's the dilemma? Um, and really just relieving that back pain and strengthening that back, strengthening core muscles, because your back program really does work on the core muscles as well. That really helped me to the point where just it's life changing. I go to the gym, all the time. I'll never be able to run, but I'm cycling, I'm rowing, I'm doing all these other cardiovascular and strength things that have really increased my self confidence, my stamina, my strength, my endurance, and really my general self satisfaction. I'm a happier person because I'm working out, and I'm eating better. I'm not, because the other thing with taking a lot of medications, it really has, triggers for eating, sweet or salty food, not eating at all. So now I've made a complete turnaround.
That's amazing. Now, when you did the back program, you said you were a little bit skeptical. What was it that kind of, were you just like, all right, I'll try it? Like, how did it come about that you actually did it then, if you were skeptical?
I was skeptical because I had tried so many different protocols and modalities, so I've gone through all these different type of hydrotherapies and, everything the Naval Hospital threw at me, I tried, just to get rid of the pain. And the only thing that I would not do is they wanted to implant a box in my, next to my spine and kill some of the nerves. And I'm like, yeah, I might need those. So no. But so when I met you and when I was introduced to your back program, I was skeptical because I'm thinking, well,
Froze there a little bit. All right, there we go.
logical, but I just don't know, but until I went through it and it was hard. I mean, those exercises in the beginning were very difficult because my back was in such a bad place. But when once I got through them, and they are my go-to whenever I'm feeling back pain or back strain. um, Several months ago I had deadlifted too much and I had pulled something on my left side of my lower back, and I went, came home, got on the mat, did those exercises, and I swear the relief was instantaneous. So there's a lot to be said for your program, Ian.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, do you remember when you did it the first time, were you thinking like, what the heck is this movement? Or like the frog legs, sometimes people are a little bit thrown off, or they think it's going to be something like, I don't know, special, but then they're like, whoa, this is interesting. Do you remember like the first time you did it, how you felt?
I do. I thought, the movements were kind of awkward. I felt, gosh, I don't know how this is going to help my back. It didn't seem like it was hard enough. Like I was expecting something more difficult, and it wasn't. And it just became, which with each movement, as you progress, it just loosens up the tightness in trying to remember back when I first did it. After my first session, I do remember that it just loosened up the muscles in my lower back. And I felt, instant relief, not pain-free, but like, wow, okay, there's something to this.
Do you remember the first time you did the stretches, how you felt in terms of like in your body? Because I can't remember exactly, but I feel like when you did it, and this is what a lot of people feel like, their head was floating.
Yes, I do. Yes. Well, exactly that. It felt like my head was floating. There was a type of euphoria, that like, and I had up until that point, I had great difficulty with the mind-body connection, and some of those exercises really made that click.
Awesome.
That could be the sensation of having your head floating. Pretty remarkable.
Well, that's what I love about the program, is because people just think like, all right, whatever, this is going to help my back. Sure, sure. And then I do the program on them and then they're kind of like, what's going on? Because they can't figure out what happened, because one, their back pain's less, and then their head feels like, and really it is, we're doing a neurological program where it's a deep in the neuroscience. We're reaching up into the brain and kind of accessing parts that haven't been accessed, that are connected to the pain and the mind-body connection. And so that's what I enjoy and I get fulfillment out of, is that first session when people are like, hold on, wait, this might actually work. And then the next day, like their back is a little better, and then they come in again. And so yeah, do you remember how many sessions did you do when you first started out with it?
Well, I did a couple of sessions, and then I bought the program, and then I started just doing them at home. And then, on occasion I would have like Whitney make sure that I was doing it correctly, so it was one of those things, because I was traveling. And so I wanted to take it with me. And then when I would come back into town, I would say, hey, Whitney, how am I doing with this? And she'd be like, yeah, bring your knees up higher, and so she would make some tweaks because I wanted to get the most out of each exercise.
Awesome. Now, what would you say to somebody? Because, they might say, well, I didn't fall out of a helicopter, but pretty much all the stories are the same. Like I fell playing basketball. Someone took my legs out. I broke my back, piece of it. And I thought I was doomed for the rest of my life for back pain. I tried everything, like everybody's story goes. But there's usually one traumatic incident and people just think, oh, I'm doomed for the rest of my life. So if someone's in that position, what would you say to that person?
Go for it. Go for it. I mean, it's remarkable. It's unbelievable. And even if you're not in that place, and God forbid, anyone's in that traumatic place, even if your back is just starting to get sore, I look at it as preventive maintenance too. It's that mind body connection, tuning up your back. Because really, I mean, if your back hurts, everything hurts. You can have a bad leg, a bad knee, you can still perform a lot of exercises or a lot of, activities. But when your back hurts, it's debilitating. So as we age, I mean, I think it's important for everyone to use these exercises just for that mind body connection, for keeping that back, loose and strengthening it, strengthening your core. I mean, it's not just for people who have had trauma. I think it's for everyone. But certainly for those who have had trauma, I definitely think they should go for it.
I 100% agree. And actually, what most people don't realize is people who are really overweight,
Yes.
who are scared of exercise, who have no back pain, that's actually how I start them off, because it's fairly simple. Plus, they feel so good after. We build that connection of exercise and feeling amazing. So that neural connection builds on top of it. And then before you know it, they're doing like heavy squats and lunges. And then they're like, wait a second, how did I get from there to here? But that's the beauty.
Yeah, the endorphins too. I mean, and that's what I attributed it to. When the first few times I did the exercise and having just that euphoria, that feeling of like, wow, because I was very skeptical, and my results, I guess luckily for me, were instant. I mean, not it wasn't like I was miraculously healed, but the improvement was sudden, and incrementally I got better and better, to the point where I had to go on that trip and said, hey, how can I take this with me? I purchased the CDs and took them with me, and did these exercises religiously while I was gone. And then as I said earlier, when I came back, I would have her just check my form to make sure I was still doing it correctly. But it's something that, gosh, what's it been? 6 years, 7 years? I'm still doing these exercises regularly.
Wow. Now, have you recommended it or given it to anybody?
I mean, I've recommended it. I've recommended many people to you. I have shown a few people, hey, this is, what you can do to relieve lower back pain. My coworker actually went to you, and she went through it, and she had horrible sciatica, and now she doesn't. So it's.
Yes, I remember. She's the one that came in and did the recording where we did the videos.
Yes.
Yeah, and she had a great.
She had horrible sciatica, and now she doesn't complain of it ever. So.
Wow. I'd only followed up with her like a week later. So this is probably what, 7 months, 8 months ago, something like that.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, it was I think it was last June.
Yeah.
July. But she's pain free. Learning those couple of techniques, so whenever her back starts to feel like it needs to be tweaked, she'll just, jump down on the ground and, do a couple of the exercises. And there's something about, especially the frog leg. I mean, and like you said, for people who are overweight, maybe you start with one leg before you, advance to both legs. And, every little bit helps. Every little bit, the exercises are designed to relieve that, pressure, and also to strengthen, those muscles that, they're not big muscles, so you don't notice them, but they're very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that I'd like to share is, yes, I'm past all of that pain and just that place of, despondency and despair. So that's way behind me, and I'm thankful. But today, I mean, doing these exercises, I am, stronger. I'm able to lift more weight. I'm able to, my time in the gym is maximized because I'm not babying my back or coddling these exercises. I'm able to, do them smartly, but, so the amount of weight that I'm able to lift, that doctors told me that I would never, ever be able to lift. I'm lifting like 5 times as much as what they capped me off at. And that right there, I think is, as we get older, we have to look at bone density. So, pushing weights helps with that. And if you have back pain, that's going to, prevent you from being the best you can be. You're just, even if even if you weren't like me, where you just stayed home and sat on the couch, feeling sorry for yourself, even if you're not that person, but if you have back pain and you're in a gym, you're not going to be, lift to your full potential because you're babying past injuries. And that's not good. I mean, I think it's very smart to be cognizant of them and to live smartly. But I also think that, you by pushing past our comfort zone, is when we reach results.
Beautifully said. There's not a lot of people that really want to take action. Like
Right.
they want someone to do it for them, or they want to go somewhere and get it done. And so the whole purpose is kind of just to let people know, like, hey, this is what happens when people take action and they do it without, you could be skeptical, but without like this blockage of belief that I'm doomed for the rest of my life, because that's never helpful. So the goal is to like open people up to the idea that, hey, no matter what situation you're in, you can actually be in control of it and make it better. Because it's hard to find a person that's been worse than you with their back. I mean, you were fused, you fractured. How many vertebrae was it?
10.
10. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. I mean,
Well,
really.
and and I had to, learn how to walk. I had to learn how to swallow. So all this, trauma that I had, not to mention 11 surgeries in 2011, all that anesthesia, all that, you know, antibiotics, all the drugs they pumped through my system. I'm afraid that some of the residue is still there, but it's getting better, each year. But, after all that, your back, just that mind body connection, trying to get your legs to work in the right direction, to where I am today. Today I squatted 185 pounds, which is, so much more than I was able. There was once upon a time I couldn't even stand up straight. Again, having your back healthy, limber, strong, pain-free is the ticket. It is.
I agree. I call it the magical wand, because if it's not healthy, it's going to destroy everything. And if it's healthy, everything else functions better, because it's literally the passageway from your brain, your brainstem, down the body and then out to the peripheral nervous system. So that's why I'm so kind of passionate about it. But is there anything else you want to share? Anything else that comes to the top of your head? Obviously, you said you'd recommend this program to other people. You have recommended it. Anything else?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that I can share is, again, this is perfect for people who have had trauma, people that have had injury, but for anyone who's active, even though they don't have an injury, I think this is important. Um, just like any other stretching, static stretching or dynamic stretching, right? It's important for everyone at all different levels of fitness. This should be incorporated into that protocol, because, keeping your back healthy, I mean, especially, someone with a 10 level spine fusion, having a healthy spine is crucial. And staying away from, medications, injections, those might help temporarily, but over the long term, they're degrading tendons and, they're not helping. So get to the root of the problem, strengthen that back, release the tension and the pain that lower back ailments cause. That'll get you, even if you're not someone who goes to the gym, someone who wants to be able to walk a half a mile, like an older person. Keeping that back straight is going to allow you to do that. It's going to facilitate, movement.
Absolutely.